Hopefully everyone is doing well. We got some cool stuff, and I worked for a few hours actually prepping for this live stream. So normally I'm all off the hook, or off the cuff, I mean. And but today we're going to do something cool. Excellent. Just as always, if you could let me know in the chat, if everything is good. Excellent. Chris is here. Started getting the chat in. Sweet. Cool. Audio and video is good. Just a quick sound check. Mr. Cole, thanks for coming on. Usual suspects. Sounds good. Thanks, Scott. Okay. So a long time ago, probably like when I shipped Foundation 6. So it was probably like a year ago. Because it's been just over a year since I launched the first beta of, I guess, pre-release version of Foundation 6 to Summit attendees last year. And so yeah, that was last November I released it. So yeah, we're 1 year into Foundation 6. We're already on version 6.6. Man, it's been a wild ride, right? But obviously, when I released Foundation, people are all, can it do this? Can it do that? And I bookmarked a few sites that I was like, hey, it'd be cool to rebuild this site in Foundation 6. I think it would be fun. So yeah, it obviously time goes by, and I've done quite a few, but there was this one site that I thought was just interesting. I hopefully you saw it. I linked to it in the email. And let's go ahead and look at it really quick. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Bring up Safari. And oops. Hold on one second. There it is. All right. Here it is. I also realized that I zoomed my desktop in a little bit. I know previously some things were getting a little cut off. So yeah, I zoomed my desktop in a little bit so we could see a little bit more screen so stuff doesn't get cut off. Okay. And actually, you know what I'm going to do really quick? 1 second here. I also got a note about maybe it's probably shouldn't. Let me see if I can adjust something really quick. 1 second, guys. Okay, boom. I made myself a little bit smaller so that I got some feedback that the little thumbnail of myself was cutting off the corners a little bit. So there we go. Hopefully that will cut off a little bit less. So if I have anything important down here, you'll still get to see my beautiful face. Okay. Okay. So this is the site we're going to be recreating. Okay. I'm not going to recreate all the typography and everything. I'm mostly focusing on just the layouts, okay, and some of these like these hover effects and whatnot. And also you'll notice that if you click on any of these, it actually opens up the content in kind of like this little light box that's off on the side, right? So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do these cool little sliders, right? So we're gonna build a slider like that. The only thing I probably won't get into is the typography is pretty simple. It's just big text, big bold text. And some other, odds and ends. But for the most part, we're going to be building all the components that you would need to build something like this. Now, what's interesting is this site. Here I'll put the link to it in the chat actually, if you guys want to have a look at it. Okay. Once again, this site doesn't scroll. Okay, so this site doesn't scroll. And as you kind of resize the browser. Another thing, this obviously the layout does change when you're on mobile. I didn't have the time to really go through all of that. I did spend a few hours, tweaking things. I even added a few minor features to Foundation that you guys don't have yet, but I'll probably ship this week. And I'll show you what those are as we go along. And so yeah, we're gonna build this. Okay. Here, why not? I'll just open up that project file. I'll show you what we're going to be building. Now, I already built this project file. but I'm going to attempt to build it from scratch again. Okay. By the way, Stacks 4.1.1 shipped. So if you were one of the few lucky people that had some issues with dragging and dropping, and partials crashing when partials were unpacked, 4.1.1 fixes a lot of that. So, yeah, make sure you go get that. Okay, so this is the project that we're going to be building. As you see, it is very similar. I didn't replicate all the text and I didn't download all the images, right? But we have a slider. We have this cool little light box doohickey, right? We have a lot of these hover effects. Okay, so it's a pretty good replica of this site, minus again just some of the fonts, the typography, and whatnot. I didn't download their logo. I just kind of used my own, right? But you see, this is pretty darn close representation of what this site is. Okay, and this entire thing is built with just Foundation 6 stacks, nothing else. Okay, I had to use like one line of CSS for these buttons, for the slider buttons. So yeah, there's one line of CSS that I just couldn't do with a swatch. You will be able to do it when I'm working on a swatches pack, and that particular line of CSS will be possible once that swatches pack is released next year. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, exciting. We're gonna build this page right here. Okay, so I'm gonna close that for right now, and I'm just gonna talk a little bit about this design and how I plan on approaching it. Okay. So first off, primarily this design uses two different types of grids inside Foundation 6. Okay. First is a vertical grid. Okay. So if you let's look at the Foundation 6 stacks really quick. We have the vertical grid, and then I'm going to use Columns Pro. Now you can also use, for some of these parts of the layouts, you could use the 2 columns or 3 columns or whatever. But I'm just going to use Columns Pro and vertical grid for pretty much everything. Okay. Now probably as we build this, I probably should have added a little bit more notes or use some pen stacks and whatnot. But as you see, there actually aren't too many swatches to get all this done either, which is kind of cool. Okay. But those 2 grids that we created, right, or we're using, what is the vertical grid? When am I going to use that? And what is Columns Pro give me? Okay. Well, we kind of know what Columns Pro is, right? That's just, multi-column layout. Okay. But what is vertical grid? Why would I need to use a vertical grid? Vertical grid, think of vertical grid as a way of splitting up your pages vertically as if they were columns. Okay, so think of it, if you have a 2-column layout or a 3-column layout, just flip that vertically, and basically you're slicing up a portion of the page vertically. Okay, let me go ahead and show you. Let's see, let's get my little screen annotation tool here. Okay, let me move it out of the way. Come on, move it over here. There we go. Okay, so first we'll notice that this entire website is contained within the browser. Okay, so that entire thing right there, right, is contained within the browser. You know what? I think I'm gonna. Can I make it stick? Cool. Okay, so we have this container, right? And that container, as you saw, this site doesn't scroll, correct? So that entire container is the height of the browser window. Okay. Now, if you notice, this particular container is kind of divvied up into 2 particular elements. Okay. First, we have this top container, and then we have the bottom container. Okay, so vertically, we're splitting this page up into two sections. We have the section that contains the menu, which he actually has a bug. Look, his menu gets cut off here. So he has the menu, and then the rest of the page is below that. Well, guess what? That is a vertical grid right there. Okay, so actually, you know, as we go along, I'm actually going to, well, let's build that out right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's go into Rapid Weaver. I'm gonna hide. We're gonna build this right now. This menu up at the top, as well as this page right here, or just the main empty content area that'll be empty. Okay, let's go ahead and hide all of that. Okay, and I'm gonna keep this as for notes, but we're gonna start a brand spanking new project here. Add a new stacks page. Okay. So obviously we're going to want to start off with a new site styles. Okay. And just for right now, I'm just going to hide that because we don't need to see it all. Okay. So there's the site styles. And then, as I said, we're going to start off with a vertical grid. So we're going to go off into a vertical grid, and our vertical grid had 2 rows, right? So we have 2 rows in our vertical grid. Okay. The first row had a menu, right? So let's go ahead and let's find a menu. And I'm just going to add in a few menu items, okay? It's just dummy content, okay? So now we have a row and this row here, okay? Now, how do we adjust the sizing? Well, let's preview what we got right now, okay? So we have a menu, and then obviously this content area is kind of empty. But if we were to just to have some fun and inspect this, that, okay, you'll see that right here, this is the vertical grid. If you notice, it takes up the entire height of the browser. Cool. And if you look at this, the 2 rows that we added, okay, you'll see the first row, well, we don't want that. It takes up, by default, it takes up 50% because it's set to auto. It's exactly the same as the columns, right? So if you set it to auto, it'll take up as much space as possible. So we're going to want to change that. We want to make sure that these aren't set to auto. We're going to want it to something else. Okay. So just like columns, you can set a vertical grid row to be shrink to content, right? So that was in this setting right here, that small shrink to content. Okay. So now if I preview this, okay, we'll see that we now have we've split up our vertical area, which is the entire web page or the entire browser height. Here is our menu, which it shrunk to its content. Okay. And then our body, where we're going to put all of our main content, is actually, right, it's filling up the rest of the space. Cool. So that first part is done. That's nice. Okay. One thing I'm also going to do actually really quick is I'm just going to set the site background color to be, I have this on my clipboard, 1 second. There it goes. Okay, I set the site background to be that cream color. Okay, so if we preview now, we got that cream color. Okay, cool. And just for kicks, since we're kind of doing the menu, here, I'm going to do I already have a couple swatches here. I'm just going to copy and paste those just to save us a little bit of time here. Okay. What's going on? Boop. Boop. Okay. So, I'm going to go in here and call this. So here I just did a menu styles that styles the colors for my menu a little bit, basically sets them to black. And if you notice, the website had really big fat menu, so I kind of just set a font style that sets the font to be bold and 24 pixels. Okay, we're gonna take this class my menu and chuck it on our menu here. There we go. Boom. Now we have a nice chunky menu. Okay. And if you notice a chunky menu up, but this chunky menu is white. So let's go ahead and that's easy enough to do. I'm actually going to use a utility class here, and I'm going to set it on the row, and I'm going to say bg:white. And there we go. Okay, so now we have our big chunky menu with the white background. I know this site has borders. We're going to attack the borders in a little bit, okay? Right now, I'm just kind of getting the structure of the grids laid out, okay? And we'll do some of the background colors. Cool. So now we have this distinct areas. We have the menu with the white background and the rest of the body, which matches this. Okay, cool. So now what? Let's focus on this left side here. Okay. Let me bring up my little annotation tool. Oh, how do I... no. How do I clear it? Interesting. Oops. Oh. Okay. Not sure what I did there, but I cleared it. Okay, cool. Scissors tool. Okay, whatever. Okay, so now we're going to be focusing on this area here. Okay. What does this area have? Okay. So this area has two boxes up on the top. Okay. And a box down here. And if you notice, inside here, it also is split up into two things, right? So we could potentially add a 2-column and then basically have a 1-column here that maybe has the slider stack. Oh, by the way, we're going to ignore the slider for right now. I just want to build this layout without a slider. Okay. So I just want to get a static layout here. So there's a couple ways we could do this. So after I built this, I'm thinking that there might be a simpler way now that I'm redoing it again, right? So we have a 2-column up here. That's easy enough to do. And then below that is basically a one column, right? And what we could potentially do is set the height of this using like a height swatch, and then set a height swatch with this. That could be easier, but actually, you know what? I'm gonna do the way I did it. So here I used when I built this, I used another vertical grid. So what I did is here I set this vertical grid to contain this area up here, and then another blanket area down here for the slider. Okay, and then inside this top row, I used a columns pro to map out the horizontal columns here. Okay. Cool. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's do that. Okay. So now we're inside the row. And what we're going to do is we're going to add another vertical grid into here because we want to split it up. Okay. And again, that was, we said that was 2 rows, right? Right. So we have 1 row, and the second row is the big slider. Okay. So we have 2 more rows. Okay. And that is, I don't know what, let me just look at what I set it to before. I'm going to cheat a little bit. 25%. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Okay, so this top row, we're going to set this to be 25%. And we're going to set this second row just to be auto because it'll just fill up the rest of the space. Okay. I could explicitly go here and say 9 because then, 3 plus 9 equals 12. But I'm just going to set it to auto because it will just fill up the rest of the space. Okay, cool. So that builds that vertical grid that we had in there. But now we need to, let's populate this content with the 2 columns. So now we have 2 columns of content. Let's do a columns pro. Okay. And that had 2 columns in it, right? So we had column 1 and column 2. Okay. And just for fun, I'm just going to go ahead and copy the content that we had in here. And we'll just copy this header. I don't really remember what I said in it. I don't think it really is anything special. So this is just an SVG of the Weaver Space logo. Okay. And then this is a just a header set to H2. That's it. There's nothing special in there. Okay, let's preview this. Oh, wait, hold up. I see what I did wrong first. Okay, so what I did is I forgot to build the horizontal divider, right? So I was curious on building. Oh, good, it's still there. I was building this section, but I forgot that in order to build this vertical layout, I need to split this main body content into 2 physical columns first. Okay, so that's easy enough to do. Let's go back in here. So inside this row, I actually need a columns pro. Okay, that has 2 columns. And then this vertical grid that I built is going to be in the first column. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that made sense, right? So what I did was how can I, there it goes. Okay. So this main body area that we had, okay, what we need to do is we need to split that up into 2 columns using Columns Pro first. Okay, so that's what that Columns Pro that I added does, right? It splits that into 2 distinct columns. At that point, then, I added this vertical grid that breaks it up into 2 areas. And then I added another Columns Pro into the first one that split that area up into 2. And that's what we have in the other tab. That's what we have here. I have my 2 columns. It's split down the middle. We have nothing over here yet. And this area down here will be that slider that we don't have yet either. Okay. Cool. So now let's go ahead and build out this area, okay? And that is in this row right here, okay? Now, one thing we might want to do is some of these can be a little confusing, right? So we could just, let's call this menu area, okay? And then this, we'll call this main content. Okay. We'll call this one, let's see, this is main content. Actually, no, I don't think we need a title on that one. Let's do this column here is main content left. And down here, this is going to be main content right. Okay. So if you notice what I'm doing here is a lot of the foundation stacks allow you to add a title. And what that does is that allows you to actually add in little notes so that when you have tons of different vertical grids and columns pros and columns all on top of each other, you can actually get a little bit of a clue on as to what the purpose of that area is. Okay. So this is the, let's just call this, I don't know. I don't know, 2 column left top, I guess, right? Okay. And then we can kind of see that this is the 2 column area there. And then this one is going to be, slider container. Okay. There we go. So now I've kind of clearly labeled a lot of these so that as we're going down the page, we kind of know what's what a little bit. Okay, so we can kind of see where we are in the page. Okay, so now we're in this slider container. Let's look at, let's go back to Safari. So let's look at this, this container. Okay, so we're building out this right here. Again, don't worry about the controls for the slider. We'll do that last. That'll probably be the very last thing we do today. But what is this? This is kind of another vertical grid. Okay, so this is a vertical grid. And we have this main content area. And then down at the bottom, we have a header or some sort of label. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to use a vertical grid for this. Okay, so let's go back into here. And I'm going to choose a vertical grid. And we had 2 rows. And here, I'm just going to go ahead and just do the 8. Oh, I just did H3. That's fine. Let me take. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to. No, we're not. No. Okay, we're going to go ahead and paste that in there. So we have a row. We put our header, Palace Fine Arts, and now I need a container or something that has an image. Okay, and what I want to do is, okay, so instead of this being an image, it kind of needs to be dynamic. Okay, because as you see, as this resizes, the image changes. We see different parts of the image, right? So what does that tell me that we need to use here? We need to use a background image. So essentially, this is just going to be a container or a div that contains a background image. Okay. So I've already set up a few swatches that I'm just going to copy over. I have this that has a background image of a wharf, the Palace of Fine Arts, and San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. All these are San Francisco landmarks. I'm just going to copy these, and we're going to paste them there. Okay. And then what I can do is I'm just going to set this row to, I have the header here for Palace of Fine Arts. So I'm just going to do BG-Palace. And there we go. Let's preview this. Okay. So now I have my image. Palace of Fine Arts is down here. But if you notice, it's I want Palace of Fine Arts it's taking up too much space. Okay. But we know how to fix that. We go to this row and we set this one to be shrink to content on the header. And what that will do is, okay. Next thing, currently, so this vertical grid, by default, it's set to full browser height. All right. Hold on to your horses. This is going to be a little interesting to explain. Okay. So this outer, let's go back to the page here. Let's talk about all the various vertical grids that we have. Okay. I just want to note out that the default height for a vertical grid is going to be full browser height. Okay. But that's not necessarily what we want right now. Okay. Well, we want them on this particular one. Okay. Let's go ahead and look here. Okay. So let's talk about all the vertical grids I have added to the page right now. So right now I have this vertical grid, and the height of that, we want that to be 100, the height of the browser. Okay, perfect. We then have this vertical grid, which we don't want that to be set to the height of the browser, because it's not, right? It needs to be the browser minus this. Okay. And then we have the third one here. And what we want for this one and this one is we want it to fill the height of the container. Okay. So this particular one, the very top vertical grid, we want this to be full browser height. Perfect. Okay. And then we noticed we had this vertical grid which is the wrapper around that entire area. Instead of full browser height, what I want this to be is I want it to be full container height. Okay, so I want it to fill its container, basically its parent. Okay, then on this vertical grid, I want the same thing. I want it to fill its parent. Okay, so we're going to set those to be full container height. Now, this isn't going to work perfect because we're going to have to actually add a couple other things, but let's see what that looks like right now. Whoa, that looks really jacked up, Joe. You told me to do that. What's going on? Okay. So let's back up a little bit. Okay. Let's look at what's going on here in the code. Okay. So, here I have, let's look, here is the main wrapper. That is the height of the browser. Perfect. This one is the height of our menu. Perfect. This one is the height of the remaining area in the browser. Okay. Oh, that's correct so far. Okay. Well, this particular one, all of a sudden it's smaller. How do I get, this grid here to fill this area? Because I want this to fill its parent. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is, that is this columns pro right here. Okay. And luckily we have a really easy utility class called h:full. Okay. If you look down here in the class, I'm going to be using this class a lot in this layout. So get used to it. h:full. It basically sets the height to be 100%. Okay. Cool. Now, I know that this main area here, I also want that one to fill its area. Or actually, before I do that, let's preview it. Okay, cool. Well, we're starting to look a little bit better, right? So I have this area here. It's now filling the space. That's my vertical grid that's filling the space. Nice. This one's filling the space still. Very nice. Now let's actually make this a little bit. Actually, what I'm going to do is, just so it's easier to see, let's get rid of that. Go like that. Go like this. Perfect. Okay. So that's this. And down here we have this. And this is all starting to look really nice now. Right? And the crux of the problem was I needed to add into that first columns pro, I need to tell it to fill the height. Because by default, it's just going to take up the same height as its content, right? And the content isn't much. It's just a small image and some headers, right? So we need to tell it to expand out. Okay, cool. So we're getting there. I now have this layout here. And yeah, I have the basics of this side of the site done. Right, just the raw basics. I know it doesn't look perfect. There's still none of the borders. Some of the alignment is slightly off. That's okay. Okay, we're just worried about getting the grid portion of the site done. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna focus on this side of the site. Okay, let's focus on this right column. I see someone in the chat said, "Why didn't I use columns pro on the left side of there's probably a million ways to achieve this same exact layout using different various components and swatches. This is just one way. I thought it was a kind of a fun way of learning vertical grids as well. So yeah, there's definitely more ways to build this site in this layout using Foundation 6 stacks. Okay. This is just one way. Is it the best way? I don't know. What is the best? I don't know. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to focus on this area over here. Okay. So this area, I see this, if we split this vertically, okay, we see that we have one section, 2 sections, 3 sections. So I see vertically, I need to split this this space into 3 distinct parts. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Now, if you remember over here in this left main content, I actually didn't need to do that because I added H full there. Okay, never mind. Okay, so now we have this main content area, and we're going to add a vertical grid onto the main content right. And we have 3 rows. And let's just call this right content top. We'll call this one right content middle. And down here, call this right content bottom. Okay. The bottom one's super easy, right? We just set that to be, or what did I use down here? I just want to set it to the same. Just a header was H3. All right, cool. Just a header. Okay. So we have a header down here. And I know because we've done this twice now that this bottom row, I want it to fit to content. Okay, so shrink to content. Okay. I then have these 2 middle ones here. Just preview that really quick. Interesting. Vertical grid. Haha. Set full container height. Okay, so we want the vertical grid here to be full container height, not full browser height. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so now I have over here on the right, I have my thing down here at the bottom, but now we need to do this other content area up here. Okay. In this area here, I think I just put, what did I do over here? I just had a header and a picture. Just go ahead and add that over here. Header, picture, boop, into the top row. Header, picture. Okay, now we have this bigger content area down here. Let me see what split I did before. I'm just going to cheat a little bit. I did 50%. Okay, so this particular row here, we're going to set this to be 50% height. And then this middle row is just going to be auto, so it'll just auto fill up the rest of the space there. Okay, so let's preview that again. There we go. So now we need to do this content area over here. Okay, which is kind of tricky as well. So we're going to focus on this area here. And there's definitely multiple ways to handle this. But let's go ahead and get rid of these little boxes. Okay. So we're going to be focusing on this area right here. Okay. And by default, you'll notice that, okay, columns pro, boom, it's a 2 column. Okay. So I have 2 columns here. Okay. This one's easy. It's just a header, right? And then the area over here, we're going to want to split that vertically. And then down here, we're going to want to split that horizontally. Okay. So let's go ahead and take care of all that. Okay, so in this middle row, we're going to have a columns pro. Boop. And I said we have 2 columns in there. Now, you'll notice that in here, I'm going to keep the medium. It's just set to auto because I want it to be 50%. Auto is fine. But if you ever wanted to change that split, I could like set this to be 50% if I wanted to. But yeah, so there we have 2 columns here. Okay. And this particular one is just going to have a header. I don't want to give you a sneak peek on what else goes in there right now. Let's just go ahead and I'm just going to chuck this header in there. Okay. I'm going to make it an H2 so it's a little bit bigger. Okay. Then over here and this is the second column right over here. And what do we have? Well, we have a vertical grid. Okay. So let's go ahead and do a vertical grid. We're going to split it evenly. Okay. So I'll just set this one to be, I can do auto. I'll just explicitly set it to 50% and auto. And then this vertical grid, we don't want full browser height. We want full container height on that one as well. Okay. This top one, I think it just had a header in there. So we'll drag that in there. And this bottom row, well, guess what? It had another 2 column in there, right? Right. So up here was just a single over here. Down here was 2 columns. Okay. So down here we have in the second row here, we have another columns pro. Had 2 columns. This one down here, since we're now getting a little short on space, let's just do shop, because that was what the shop was. Okay. And in this column, this is the column that has these 4 buttons. Okay. Now, how are we going to do that? There's a couple different ways. We could try to split this with vertical and whatever. There's much easier ways. There's probably 2 different ways you could do this. You could either use a block grid, or you can just use a column pro with 4 columns. Okay. I am just going to use a columns pro in here with 4 columns. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the columns to use 50%. Okay. And here, I will cheat a little bit just because I don't want to find the icon things anymore. Here. You'll notice that there's these 1 columns. We'll get into why I have 1 columns in there in a little bit. Okay. Let's just do like that. I just want the icons really quick. All right, add in the HTML. Now you notice we don't see the icons. Well, that's because I need to go up in here. I need to add Font Awesome 5, CSS and fonts. We also need brand icons. Okay. And then voila, we magically have our, I needed 4 columns here. So 2, 3, 4. That's, boom, boom, delete. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save this project just in case. We'll just call it live. Okay, cool. And then let's go ahead and move the Facebook icon and move the Pinterest icon and move that icon. Okay. Preview. Voila. Okay. So we have all of our main sections now. We did a lot of the hard work. Okay. Now it's just tweaking things. So here I've split up my, my grid up here. Okay. So this one takes up 50%. Okay. Here, let's actually do that little inspector so we can kind of see that since we're looking at the right side. Okay. So here is my vertical grid, right? That fills up the entire area. Inside there's that top area that takes up 50%. Then we have our auto area that takes up the rest of the space that isn't filled by this shrink. Okay, the header down at the bottom. If we dive into this area here, we'll see that we have a 2-column area. Okay. And if you notice, actually, there's going to be a little problem here. So because I know I'm going to want these columns to fill the height of this vertical area. Okay. In this columns pro stack right here, I'm going to want to set that to be H full. Right. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. So I think it was this one. H colon full. Okay. Now if we go here. Okay. Oh, that wasn't the right one. Auto. Hold on a second. I want row. Oh, that's not what I want. I'm sorry. I did it in the wrong spot. Okay, we wanted row middle. This column's pro right here. This one needs to be H full. There we go. Okay, starting to look a little bit better here. Okay, so now that's filling up the area. That is our left column, our right column. Okay, this is the vertical grid that then splits it into 2. Okay. And then this one has the 2-column, which we'll notice I actually needed the H full on that one. You'll notice that it doesn't fill the height of that vertical grid. Okay. So we're going to go into this one and do H full on that. And there we go. And then that is our first column and our second column. Okay, nice. Now, if you notice here, these buttons, actually, let's look at these buttons. They don't properly, let's work on the alignment of these, because if you notice, they're kind of not correct. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, oops, not here. Actually, I want to make sure I because I'm going to give you guys this project that I already made, so I just want to make sure that it does what I thought. Okay. So, what I did here, because we don't have a vertical grid, okay, in here, I just use columns. What we're going to do is we're going to set the height of each column to be 50%. Okay, so all I can do is I'm going to go into the columns for each of these. So I'm going to select all 4 columns, and I'm going to add H:50 to the class. Right there, H:50. Okay, kind of like H:full does. Probably should have done H:100, but H:full and then H:50. Okay, and let's preview that now. Oh, interesting. Okay, so here on this ultimate column, I'm going to actually act H:full on that as well. And then there we go. There we go. Okay. Let's go to the inspector. Okay. So here is the column. Here is the columns pro that contains all 4 of those. Okay. And then you'll notice that voila, they're kind of more evenly spaced out now. Cool. Okay, our grid is pretty much done. Okay, now we just need to start doing some styles and alignments and stuff. Okay, so one thing you'll notice that on this site, pretty much everything is center aligned. Okay, now I didn't purposely go. I could go to each header and say, text align center on all of these, or I could just go to the very top of the page, go to the vertical grid that contains the entire page, and just say, you know what? I want all of my content to be center aligned. And voila. It's all center aligned now with one setting. Okay? You don't need to go to each individual one. Okay? Again, I went to the very top vertical grid that basically wraps everything. And as long as, you can override that, like if I wanted this one to be left, I can set it to something. But as long as everything in here says inherit, okay, it will inherit from whatever sets the alignment on the text. So this vertical grid, I set it to have center alignment, and voila, it magically center aligned all the text. So someone noticed he didn't know you can add the same class to something multiple times. You can. However, let's say this one let's say this first column has a class that the other ones don't. I don't know, hello. Okay. And let's say I go, okay, I want to add a new class to all of these. And I select all of them. Now the first one I said had H:50 hello. The other ones just had H:50. So if I add that now, and let's close that out and go back to this one, you'll notice that they all now have the same one, right? Because they all get hello as well now. So multi-selection of things work, but you have to make sure whatever value you enter in is going to literally be the same on all of them. So if I change this setting on all of them, it's going to change all of them, right? And the same thing works for delete. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all of them. I'm going to delete hello and another, and now all of them will have H:50. There we go. So cool. Yeah, and that's just holding down the command button. I got to turn off my space heater. I'm cooking. Okay, whew. That thing was cooking my butt, man. Sorry. Probably TMI. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so there we go. And this is where we are at right now. Okay. Let's start working with some of the vertical alignment of items. Okay. So for example, this SVG, it's not vertically aligned, right? If we go ahead and let's look at this over here. Okay. All right. So here I have some content. And if you'll notice that this doesn't grow to the height of the container, right? So we have this particular columns pro, it needs to grow to the height. Okay. The reason is I want to vertically center these things. In order to vertically center it, it needs to be the height of something, because right now it's just the height of the content. Okay. So let's go ahead and fix that really quick. I missed that one earlier. That is this columns pro here. So we're going to do H:full on that. And let's preview again. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So now that's full height. We have that and that. But if you notice, the content isn't vertically aligning. Okay. And so now I'm going to show you a trick that is going to be important. Okay. So what you might think you would do is this. You would go to this Columns Pro and you'd be like, hey, I know that Columns Pro has a vertical align option. I'm going to set that to be vertical align middle. Should be done, right? Score. Okay. That will work. Okay. If you don't now, but on this side, we'll notice that in the full design, this box is white. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and let's make this box white, and we'll see what happens. So in this column, I want this column to be white. So we're just going to add BG:white. Okay. It's a utility class, right? Down there, BG:white. Enter. Makes the white background beautiful. Preview. What the heck, dude? What happened? I thought we made this full height. What's going on here? Well, the way that vertical middle happens is it makes the columns the size of their content and then vertically aligns those columns. So while that is great when we don't want to actually see the column, like add a background to the column, it's a headache when we do. Okay, so what's the workaround? And this is going to be a common workaround. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this Columns Pro. I'm going to turn off vertical alignment. Okay, the default will make the columns go 100% height, right? Which again, we get back to this. So now I have a white background, but all my content's back up at the top now. So how can we now get the best of both worlds? How can I get vertical align the content and color my columns? Well, in order to do that, we just need to add another one column. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a one column in here. Okay. And then we're going to set the one column to be H:full. And then I'm going to set the vertical alignment on this column to be middle. And that is going to be how we get it done. Okay. So you see there, now what it's doing is the one column is filling the height of the column pro and then vertically aligning the content. Okay. So yeah, it does, in order to do that, it does take one extra one column. Okay. What I'm going to do is we're going to be using this in a few places. So I'm just going to copy that. We're going to put that right there. We're going to put that right there. We're going to put it right here. We're going to same exact thing. Boop. I'm going to do that. Let's preview that. So now I have this is vertically centered. Oh, we want to make sure this is vertically centered. And this is vertically centered. And, this needs to be a white background over here. let's go ahead and let's do that really quick. So this, we're going to make that BG white. Okay, so that's white. Okay. And then down this particular one here, we do want vertically centered will work on this one, I believe. No. Oh, not on that one. Hold on 1 second. Inherit. It's on this one. My bad. I think we could do vertically aligned middle on that, and it will work. There we go. Okay, so I have my buttons, and the vertically and all the icons are vertically aligned. Sweet. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna need my little center content center there. You know, maybe this little one column will make a good template. Like it's just a, it is a very simple thing, but it works. You just need H: full and set the vertical line to be middle. Okay. So there we go. And do I need it here? I think I might need it here too. Vertically center that bad boy. Oh, and this one. Boom. Okay. We're shaping up here. Okay. So now all of our content is vertically aligned properly. Okay. We have our sidebar. Let's start adding all those borders. Okay. So if you notice, there's all kinds of thick borders everywhere. Okay. And I've created a bunch of swatches for this. Okay. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to copy them over. Here. Just going to paste those there. And let's look at them. Okay. First I have border all. Okay. And let's look at this. It essentially, it takes the swatch color black, and it sets border size simple on all sides, 10 pixels, and on all sides solid. Okay. If you're curious, earlier on today I said I added a couple things. It was for these borders. This side setting doesn't exist currently in this production version. And that's important because, like, on this border left class that I created, I only want to apply a 10 pixel border to the left side. Okay. Just a little small tidbit before I hit detailed. And what I did is I set this to be 10 pixels left and then 0, 0, 0 on top left and right. However, I couldn't use this by just adding, let's say I wanted something to have a border on the top and a border on the right. I couldn't do that because border left and border right would cancel each other out. Okay. So long story short, there's going to be a new simple setting with this sides. By default, it'll be all, which is the current behavior. But you can actually define the side that you want to apply it to. Okay. So this one sets a left border of 10 pixels. Obviously, the class of border right sets a right side. Same thing for top and bottom. Now you notice I also have a set of classes for small border. We'll get to what those are for in a little bit. Essentially, it's the same thing. It just sets the border to 5 pixels instead of 10. Okay. Okay. So let's start adding our borders to all kinds of stuff. Okay. So first off, we're going to add a border all around the menu because let's go to here. We have a border around the menu. Okay. So that's true. So we have a border all around the menu. I'm going to go ahead and say a border all. Border dash all. Boom. We have a border around the menu. Okay. Now this content area, this main content area, I don't want a border on the top. I can't use border all. Here, let's show you really quick. So we do this main content row. Yeah. Let's set border all on this. Border dash all. Just so you see what's going on. Okay, so I have a border all the way around, but if you notice this border up at the top, it's too thick now because it's doubled over, right? So what I can do is instead of border all, I'm going to set border dash left, border dash right, and border dash bottom. Okay, so it's very explicit, but that gives us exactly what we want now. Okay, so now I have all of those borders. Okay, so we're getting there. Look, it's starting to look like something. Okay, now let's focus on this left side area here. Okay, essentially I'm going to want a border all the way down this middle part, this middle section, right? So let's go ahead and find this left main content column. Okay, and I'm going to set a border dash right on that. Voila. So I now have a border right there. Okay, we're getting there. Then in this vertical area here, I had a border on the along this top area. So actually we're gonna need two. We're gonna need one that splits this and one that splits that. So let's go ahead and find those spots right there. That is right here. We're gonna do border dash top, and then on this we're gonna do border dash top. Do that. Okay, let's preview that. We're getting there, right? So now I have my border here, my border there. Now I need a border down this middle flank right here. Okay, and that is just on this where the icon is. I'm going to set that to have a border dash right. Voila. Right? Magic is happening. Okay, now let's focus on this side. Obviously, I want to have a border here and a border here. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so on, let's see, on this, I want to have a border dash top and middle row. We're going to have a border dash top there. Boom. Okay, we're getting there. All right, now on this side, I want to border down the middle here, right? And then a border here. Let's go ahead and do that. So down this side here, I want to have a border right. Let's just make sure I did that correct. Yep, boom, border right. And then, okay, then on this one, on this row, I want a border top. Border top, nice. And then here, I want a border top as well. No, I want border dash left. Sorry, left. I think, right? Yes. Okay, cool. Now it comes this area here, okay, where we have these little icons. And so just because the way we built these, it's going to be a little different, okay? So you might think that, oh, look, Twitter, I'm just going to add a left border and a bottom border, and on YouTube, I'll add a right border and a bottom border, and on the YouTube, I'll add a left border and a top border. That's actually what I tried first, right? Let's do that really quick. So this one, we're going to have, on the Twitter, we're going to have border dash right and border dash bottom, okay? And then on YouTube, we're going to have border dash top and border dash left. Okay. You notice, well, that didn't work, did it? Did it? Well, also, if you notice, it's actually the borders aren't doing what I would expect. What's going on there? What happened? Hold on one second. All right. Some small differences. Oh, by setting that vertical, okay, because remember on this column I set vertical align middle. Well, that stops our height that we set on all of these. Okay, so we're gonna have to do that one column trick again for this particular layout. So we're gonna set the vertical line back to inherit. Okay, and then I'm gonna need this little one column trick. Paste, and paste, and then move that into there, move that into there, move that into there, move that into there. And if you guys are wondering, these icons are just Font Awesome 5 snippets. That's all they are. There's nothing special in there. They're just Font Awesome 5 snippets. Okay. Okay. So now let's preview this. There we go. So this is the problem I was coming up with. I was like, oh shoot, because I was kind of expecting, oh, maybe that would all work out. And I guess you could maybe put a bottom border on the Facebook one, but yeah, it just wouldn't work out. Okay, so that's why I then came up with the small borders. So basically, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do hold on, is it small dash border? I forget the name classes that I called it. Small dash border dash, so it's just small dash, all of them. Okay, so now we go down over here, and so this Twitter one, I still want the border right and border bottom, but I'm going to add small. Okay, and let's just copy that to make it a little bit easier. And then on the Facebook one, I'm going to want the border on the left and the border on the bottom. Okay. And then on the Pinterest one, we want the border on the right and the border on the top. Okay. And on the YouTube one, we want it on the left and the top. Okay. And so there we go. By essentially adding a 5 pixel on both sides, we get the same sizing of border, right? So we're adding the two 5 pixels together to make 10 so that it all looks uniform. Are you applying the borders to the column stack? Yeah, I'm applying it to the individual column stacks, right? So this stack and this stack and this stack and this stack. Some of these ones here, like this particular one that goes the entire side, I put that one on the vertical grid, right? Because that was just it's the container that is the entire height. So instead of putting a left border on this box and a left border on, or a right border on this box, and this box, I just put the border on the surrounding container, right? Cool. Man, I've already gone an hour, and I still have more to go. But we finished actually building out the layout of this, right? I mean, the grid is done. Okay, it is pretty much identical, right? Obviously, the typography is different. Okay, so if you want to stay on, I'm gonna keep going and finishing the rest of the stuff that I did. Okay, and that is showing you how to do this cool little slider, as well as showing you how to build this little light box thing, and also this hover effect. Okay. I guess first we will do the hover effect. Okay. And to save myself a little bit of time, I have some swatches pre-made. Okay. So here's a few swatches that is going to do everything we need. Okay, so anything I put a hoverbox class onto will get a few things. On hover, the background color will be black. Okay, and then on I'm going to change the text colors to be the kind of that cream color. Okay, and then also I'm going to change the secondary, and actually in site styles, I'm going to go ahead and set the secondary color to be that same off-white color. Okay. So for some reason, I would have expected this text colors swatch to also affect the Font Awesome icons. Sadly, it wasn't for some reason, and I was running out of time to figure out why exactly. So I just simply created one more font color swatch that forces on hover the Font Awesome icons to use that secondary color, which is what I just set. Okay, you could also just do color swatch and then set the color here. Okay, but I set it to be secondary. Okay, and then we have a transition so that if the background color changes, it doesn't change. It actually has a nice little fade transition. Okay, so that's all the swatches that we use for Hoverbox. Okay, and again, all I need to do is add Hoverbox to the various components. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first one is here, this particular column here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put in hover-box. And that's it. Now when I preview, there we go. Now I'm going to add it to all of these other ones, right? So I'm going to add it to this one, this one, this one, and this one, and actually all of these icons. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't think that site had it on the one below the slider, did it? No, it did not. But it had it on all of these. Not that one and that one. Okay, let's replicate it. So this one, we need Hoverbox on there. Okay, and then in this one, we need a Hoverbox on there. And then in this one, we need a Hoverbox on there. And this one, we need a Hoverbox on there. And in this one, we need a Hoverbox on there. And in this one, we need a Hoverbox on there. And Hoverbox on the shop. And then we had one on this bottom one as well. Okay. There we go. Look at that. Slick. Come on, guys. That's cool. Where's the round of applause, right? I see a bunch of questions. Here, let me look at some of these questions first. Is there a video on swatches, tricks that you are using? There's lots of videos, Michael, on various swatches. Check those out. How do these borders behave when you collapse on mobile? So I haven't taken the time to collapse things on mobile. You might need to, with the swatches, as you saw in that, you probably saw that it didn't work too great. In this, you can target various sizes. So inside Media Query, you can target small only, medium only, and stuff like that. So yeah, you can create your own swatches that target a border on a particular size, right? So you can definitely do that. So yeah, in this particular example, here, let's just shrink it down so we can see. Yeah, a lot of these borders don't make sense any longer, right? So we'd probably make it medium only or large only or something like that. Okay, so, but it's possible, in swatches. Just takes a little bit more work. Okay. Okay, Hoverbox. I think we got all the Hoverbox done, right? Didn't I get all that done? Yeah, Command S. There we go, Command S. Boom. Okay, so now what? Let's work on that lightbox effect. Okay, so we're actually not going to. Here's a little sneaky thing. We're actually not going to be using a lightbox for this. We're gonna trigger it. I'm gonna trigger it by clicking on this right here. Here, let's just do. I think that is, which header is that? I think it's this one. Yeah. Click this to open the lightbox content. Ah! Click the wrong button. Click this to open. If I can type this to open the lightbox content. Okay, there we go. All right, I did that. Okay, good. So I'm going to make it so we click on this and it's going to open something. Okay, but we're not going to use a lightbox. And that's just because we're going to use something else. We're actually going to be using a drop down. Okay. And here, actually, I'm going to be a little bit quick. I'm just going to take this drop down. Okay. And what's important is the placement of this drop down. Okay. This drop down doesn't really have much special to it. I made the background black. I made it the alternate colors. I have border none, which is another utility class, and then I have drop content, which we'll look at that in a second. Okay. But just to save me a little bit of time, we're going to add this right. I need it above this, but let's just go ahead and add it right there. I'm going to move it right there. Okay. So it's very important, the position of this drop down. Okay. So if we look at the site and we click on this, you'll notice that this fills in this area. Okay. And it can scroll. Okay. But it fills in this area only. It doesn't cover the menu. It only fills in this area. And what is that area? It is this right here, the main content right. Okay. So essentially, I added a drop down. We're setting it to size mega. Okay. We're going to set it to be, it doesn't really matter the position because we're actually going to override the position with a position swatch. Okay. And that is using this drop content swatch. So let's go ahead and over here, I created a position swatch. Okay. That, let's go ahead and add that to our code here. Boop. Okay. So what this does is this position swatch, I call it drop content. Okay. Cause it's our drop down content. And we have to set this to be relative to parent. That is very important. We don't want it relative to browser. Okay. And the reason I can't use a lightbox is lightboxes will always be relative to the browser window. Okay. But drop downs can be wherever we place them. Okay. So we want it to be relative to the parent. And again, the parent in this case is that entire right column that we created. Okay. So we're setting it to be top, bottom, left, and right 0. So basically this position swatch will force the drop down to stretch and fill the entire area of its parent. Okay. I upped the Z index to 10. Not sure that was really necessary, but okay. So that creates our drop down. Also, I added a close button in here in order to close the drop down. Okay. Also, you want to make sure drop down close on click is enabled as well. Okay. So there we go. So now how are we going to launch this? Because right now I need to be able to click on this box here and launch it. Okay, because you can't obviously see it on page load. Okay, so let's go down to this. So how can we launch a dropdown? Well, the easiest way is with the launcher stack. So I'm going to go ahead and add a launcher stack. And I want it so you click anywhere in that square and it'll launch it. Okay, so let's go launcher. Open dropdown is the default. The drop ID is drop 1. If you're going to be doing multiples of these, we're going to make sure that each dropdown has a unique ID, and you change that unique ID here. Okay, so let's preview that. So click on that, and whoops. Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's really cool. I'm actually glad this happened. So if you notice, it went the full page. Well, maybe that's not what you want, right? Because we only wanted to fill this area here. But if I go into this right here, the content, no, not content middle, sorry. I want this one, right, main content right, okay? I need to set this to be position relative. Okay, so that the dropdown knows that it needs to be relative to this main content area. Preview that again. Click on this, voila. And also, because that closed on click, if I click anywhere else on the page, it'll close. So I can either click on the close button or I can click anywhere outside and it'll close. That's really cool. Now you might notice when I added that launcher stack, this text in here was no longer vertically centered. Okay. And there's an easy fix for that. In this launcher stack, we just need to make that the full height of the container. H:full. And there we go. There we go. So cool. Now probably this alt text is white. Probably should be that off-white color, right? Now let's just fix that really, really, really quick. So if we go here, I want my alternate text color to be that. There we There we go. Now it matches. Although the header's off. That's alternate header color as well. Oops. There we go. There we go. Right? Really, really cool. Loving it. So I'm not going to do it for all, on the main site, all of these launched a different area. Okay. With their own special kind of layouts, right? Just has some image and some text and whatnot. Okay. I mean, I did it once here. You can figure out how to, do the same thing with these. Okay. And obviously these Twitter icons will just be links, and there'll be links to your Twitter and Facebook pages and all that jazz. Right. Okay. We're getting there. The last bit, I said we were going to do it last, is the slider. Okay. Okay. So we have a slider here. First, let's get the slider working, and we'll do the buttons last. This one also has a slider up here. I'm not gonna build this as a slider. I'm just gonna do this one. Essentially, it's gonna be the same thing in this area. Just build your whatever other slider you want. Okay. Okay. So this area here is, we need to add a slider. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a slider stack. Okay. And then, I already built these slides out. I'm just going to go ahead and copy them from this project. Slide. There we go. Just delete that. Delete that. Okay. So now I have my my slider. And in the slider, we're also going to want to make sure that it is set to be H full, because we want it to be full height of this vertical container. Oops. All right. And then also in each slide, I'll also have it set to H full. Okay. That's important because each slide contains its own vertical grid. Okay. So it needs to be able to know that it needs to fill all the available space that it has. Okay. Actually, you know what? This slider needs to be there. Not inside that vertical grid. All right. All right. So now we have the slider that is going to be full height of the slider container. Okay. Let's do set autoplay. We also want to use nav controls. And we'll loop the slides. Okay, there we go. And so at the bottom, let's add some navigation controls, slider controls. There we go. Let's use the default controls for now. Let's preview that. Whoops. What did I do here? Okay, so we have this H full. Let's look at what I did over here. What did I do different? This one works. All right. What did I do? All right. Well, let's go ahead and preview that. Okay. What did I do wrong? So that's the height. I cell auto. So that fills the container. That's the slider. That's correct. Oh, orbit. Okay. There's one. Yeah, I forgot about that. Here it is. In order to do this, basically, there's one thing that we don't have access to add a class to add that H full. So we need to explicitly do that here. So there's something that Foundation adds called orbit container that we need to make that fill the height. Okay. Let's go ahead and just put that swatch in there. Okay, voila. All right, so now we have height. Okay, now if we preview, voila, magic. Okay. And actually, you know what? The default slider controls actually look really nice. I think they work really well for this. Okay, but let's go ahead and get those slider controls up here that mimics pretty much that other site exactly. And this is a little complex, actually, to be honest. It takes quite a bit of swatches to move these bad boys up here. Okay, but let's do it. That was a fun thing this morning, actually. It was kind of a good time. I'm going to go ahead and just let's copy this slider buttons. Okay. So there's quite a few things here. And also one thing I did do is, I'm just going to where you put the icons, you can also use actually I'm just going to copy this slider controls. You can put in font awesome icons. So we're going to go down here. And instead of these default HTML, entities, I'm just gonna paste in the ones that I had. So this has the left arrow from Font Awesome and the right arrow from Font Awesome. Okay, and what's kind of cool here, whatever classes you add to this will be classes added to both arrows or both buttons. Okay, so I wanted BG white, and I also wanted that hoverbox effect that we already created. Okay, so I added hoverbox and BG white to the buttons. Okay, to these slider controls. And let's look at what else we did to these slider controls. So since I'm using Font Awesome icons, I could just use the font style swatch. So I use the elements. Under elements, you can choose slider next and previous. Okay, and then set the size of those to be 32 pixels. So that sets the size of those arrows. Okay. And then I wanted to change the position. Okay, because here, let's just preview this really quick. By default, they're centered on the left and the right. Well, I wanted their position to be different. I wanted their position to be up at the top left corner here. Okay. So I did a position swatch for the next button and a slightly different position swatch for the previous button, because the previous needs to move to the from the right 60 pixels, right? So this previous button needed to be 60 pixels over in order for it to look proper. Okay. This is the one line of CSS that I had to do in order to accomplish this. So we needed to disable some auto centering that was happening. So in order to do that, we need to set transformed none on those. So that was the one line of CSS we can't do with a swatch yet. Okay, yet is the key word there. Then I had borders, right? So I have orbit previous has borders on those sides. Orbit next has borders on just the bottom. Okay. If you notice the swatches for these, I just choose element. Okay. So if we look up here, okay, I choose element in the swatch selector, and then you can choose next, previous, and next. So you have a lot of flexibility there. This one was set to next. Okay. I set the font color. By default, I wanted it to be the black color for the icons. And then on hover, I wanted it to be the secondary color, which is that off-white. Okay. And then I wanted on hover, I had to do two different ones, one for orbit next and one for orbit previous. On hover, I wanted to set the swatch to be secondary. Okay. So while there's a lot of swatches for those, there's nothing like crazy. It was all incremental. It was like, okay, I want to change the color. Okay, now I want to move it up here. And so, I don't want to take the time to just, to implement these, logically for you guys. Hopefully you guys can see the logic there. And as you see there, we now have the slider that goes next, previous, the entire grid elements here. This is a really, 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 really cool project. Yeah, all done 100% out of the box, Foundation 6. Hopefully, this guy gave you guys a little bit of, hopefully it didn't bust your brains or anything like that. But I mean, how did I tackle this? It was just little bits at a time. It was just looking at, okay, I have this page, right? And then I broke it up. Okay, first I need to break this into a vertical column or vertical grid. And then I need to break that further down into 2 columns, into 3 columns. Okay. Will this template be on Weaverspace? Yeah, this won't be a template. I'll just upload the project file to Weaverspace, and you can I'll probably call it like F6 grid site or something like that. I might massage the one a little bit with some things I actually did better on this live stream than I did in the project I built. So I'll probably do a little bit of massaging this afternoon, and I'll upload it to the Foundation 6 product page. Just go to the download sections, and like I said, I'll call it F6 grid site or something like that. Okay. So yeah, it'll be uploaded. Hopefully, again, just going back to my thoughts. How did I build this? It was very methodical. It was just taking this massive page, not even massive page, but this page and breaking down the layouts, right? What do I need? What tools do I have at my disposal to accomplish that need, right? And so hopefully this helped you out. I thank you for a lot of great comments. Everyone seemed to really enjoy it. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys on Friday. If you have questions about this or you want to, tweak this anymore, maybe we could play with it more on our Friday Hangouts live, where we can kind of do it all interactively. That could be a lot of fun. Hopefully, you enjoyed this and learned a lot, and we will see you guys hopefully on Friday at the Hangouts. If not, we'll see you next week, on next week's live stream. Take care, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye.